Live. And we are live. Hey, Reggie.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to um, the Poly Pimps podcast. Um, it is Thursday, January 23rd, and we are here, season 3 of the Poly Pimp podcast. It's a new year. We want to do things a little bit different, but seems like 2025 came loaded with different things and different challenges. So we are trying to adjust. So thank you all for being patient with us. And we are hoping to bring you some great shows this year, some great topics, and some fun ones as well. So, welcome back, Reggie. You are a repeat guest on our show. And I always thank you for being here because you're a great friend as well.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure having you here because I always love to pick your brain. I like the way you think. Um, so yeah, I feel like we have great conversations. So it's always a good time for you to come back on the Polly Pants show. So
Thank
for
you.
the people who don't know you yet, who are watching for the first time, maybe you can tell them a little bit about you.
Oh, well, Reggie Beloved on Facebook, as the name says. My government name is over there. It's Reggie Beloved is a play on my real name, and well, a little bit about me. I live in the Atlanta area now. Originally, I was born in Haiti, raised in South Florida in the Miami area. Um, Haitian Free Thinkers you see at the bottom, I started that in January 2012, and that was because about August of 2009, I became an atheist. Um, and after the earthquake of 2010, I kind of was wondering if I can find other Haitians that were secular like myself, and so I started the group, and yeah, we're still here. That's one of my passions. So you know, being secular means that you're open to different because that's not normal, especially in the Haitian community. Um, I was introduced to the polyamory idea probably in 2012. I was having a conversation with somebody, and then she I guess mentioned the term, but I kind of like understood the concept already, if you will. This wow. So I had a conversation with me too, and then I mentioned that word. It was the same kind of thing, when you kind of uh exchange ideas and you're not afraid to kind of go to, I guess, non-traditional ways of thinking. It expands your mind. So, Poly Pep show got started. Sky's not here today, but um, there's just a little bit about me, I guess.
Yes.
But I also, for tonight's show in particular, I suggested this topic because I don't know, I was thinking about it because some of the connection with me is that, I actually went to film school in Miami-Dade many years ago, and then one of the films that I think was recommended, or maybe the director that was recommended, was Spike Lee, and that introduced me to one of my all-time favorite films. She's Gotta Have It, which inspired me to mention it to me too. That hey, maybe we should do movies now, shows, maybe books, or but movies and shows is what I was thinking about that had themes where like they were poly in nature, but like maybe at the time we didn't recognize it. And even if we did recognize these concepts, it was seen as scandalous,
Right.
salacious, negative, and wrong. And so, but I just went back and I was watching the original She's Gotta Have It. It was kind of like spoken about, but I just was wrapped up in everything else. And then I actually She's Gotta Have It had a reboot. It got made into a series, and I remember knowing about it, but I didn't get into it because um I was so upset because I loved the original so much that I felt that it was slap in the face to try to remake it because I loved
Ah,
the original. Anyway, so I'm talking too much, but that's a little bit about me.
we're gonna get into that. Thank you. And yes, unfortunately, we don't have Sky here tonight. She's not feeling well, just like everybody else. She's caught something. Everybody's getting sick, and even in my household, I feel like it's kind of iffy with the kids. As soon as they go back to school, it's like, oh, I don't feel well. And my kids love going to school. They don't want to miss a day of school. So if they call and say, "Can you pick me up?" I know things are wrong. So there's something going around. There are things, not just something. There are things going around, and one of them, I guess, has gotten to Sky. She's not feeling so well, so we're gonna keep her in our thoughts and have a little fun. Um, just thinking about her because I know she would have eaten this topic up. But so yes, so it's funny because you saw the movie first. I saw the show first, then realized there was a movie. Then I went and saw the movie and watched the movie. So anyway, I can't. I think one day I was just scrolling. I want to say it was Netflix or Prime, one of those two, because those are the ones that I have. And I saw the girl, but I love that girl. I can't even remember the first thing that I saw with her, but I remember her face on the show, not the movie. And I was like, oh, I like her. Let me see what this show is about. And oh, I was like so glued to the TV, and I binge watched it until I was totally done with it. And so I started searching and then found the movie, and then I watched the movie, and I'm like, I can't even believe that this movie was made in 1986, because we're all acting like polyamory is a new concept, right? Not, I mean, we know it's not, but most people have never even heard of polyamory while it's in front of us. And I feel like non-monogamy has always been represented in movies, but none ethically, right? So it's non-monogamy has always been represented through cheating. Basically, that's what's accepted by society. It's never been represented ethically, which the 1986 Spike Lee movie, She's Gotta Have It, that was an ethical way to represent non-monogamy, more specifically polyamory. So it was definitely exciting to see that part on TV, because if we look at some of the reality shows, they're all scandalous. It's all for drama. It's all for clout, like the people say. It's not really, they don't really want to represent the real thing. They just want viewers. So they create unnecessary drama, or wherever they edit their videos, it's never the right picture that's being painted. So, yes, I'm going to let you talk a little bit, right, Reggie?
So you mentioned you saw, I believe, the lead actress of the She's Gotta Have It series. Is that who drew your attention? Is that correct?
No, the new girl, the one from the show. Hey,
The
Sky,
so the lead actress from the show,
from the show.
she she drew your attention because you saw her somewhere else?
Yes. I can't remember what I saw her in, but I remember I liked her. And I was like, oh, let me watch this show because it's her. A lot of times I'll click on things just because I recognize a person's face, because I like them in something that they played in. So that's kind of what drew me in. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember hearing about the reboot, and like I said, I don't know if I just saw the trailer. I just couldn't stomach it because that movie and just Spike Lee, he's just such an icon. And before the show, I was actually watching. Um, I saw all of episode one, and I think a quarter to half of episode two of the show, and then I started watching the movie again, and it just dug up all these emotions in me that was important for me to get ready for the show. But um, the original, the movie, first of all, the year 1986 is mind blowing. I didn't know the series is actually from 2017,
Mhm.
so it's already 8+ years old.
Mhm.
I looked for the actress because I IMDb people, to find out what they were in,
Mhm.
especially the actress from the original movie. Like, I just love her so much. She did such a great job, and it was such an artsy job, and it's so much more. Um, to me, I've always looked at it. It's a piece of art that deals with topics and like pulls me in. I can relate to the characters so much, but Nola Darling
Mhm.
is a flame and we're all moth.
Tell me about your feelings for Nola Darling.
So for me, Nola represents an archetype of a person which I think a part of me is always gravitated towards, really. And she can't help being, I don't even think attractive is the word. She's magnetic. She's magnetic. She draws people in a certain way, and she causes them to want to be clingy. That's different from being attractive. Attractive is a lot more temporary, a lot more superficial. She's very aware. She's very
Mhm.
in tune with herself, very independent. And what that does to people is like get you in initially, but then everybody wants to control.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to just take that firefly, if you will, and keep it in that glass bottle and just observe her and be like, "That's mine." And
Right.
then the fight is to kind of hear her say, "You cannot."
Right. Well, so um I mean there's so much to talk about when it comes to that, but I love the word magnetic that you used too, right? Magnetic. So I was rewatching the movie just a little bit, and one of the scenes is the I forgot his name. The guy, anyway, he was kind of jealous when um Nola's friend was there taking care of her when she was sick. And
Mhm. The
so
opal, the lesbian.
yes, so he was like, "Well, I can take care of her now." So basically, he wanted to be the man. He wanted to be the only thing in Nola's life, and Nola's like, "No, she can stay here if she wants to," and all that stuff. So he was already being jealous, and I was like, "That is so typical."
Yeah,
So
he represents prototypical. I don't even want to say alpha male, but that's what we do. That's what these people do to us, you know. We want he came um I don't want to say sincere and humble, but he came with sincerity, and
mhm,
he's trapped by her charm,
mhm.
and he wants so desperately to invest into her for the long term, and it's hard for him to kind of grasp what she's really all about. And so, whether it's a female friend, whatever, he needs to understand
What
who
the
these people
relationship is
are.
there.
Yeah, he needs, he needs to feel safe, and
Yeah. Yep.
he
Man,
doesn't.
I was very, very excited. I remember the first time that I saw that show, I was like, finally, finally. And the girl in the show, I thought she has so much energy, but that's always how I've seen her too. Um,
The main actress.
yeah.
And I'm gonna get her name while we speak because
Oh,
I don't
the
recall seeing
Wonder
her anywhere
Wise.
else.
Sky told us the Wonder
Yeah,
Wise.
yes, I don't think I've seen her anywhere else. So,
Yeah.
but she's extremely gorgeous. I still place I forgot the name of the actress in such a high pedestal that even though this woman is gorgeous, but she reminds me of this of the model turned actress with the pretty eyes. That's from
Yeah.
the that the other model found. Oh my gosh, I'm just saying things, but I think you know who I'm talking about. And I'm gonna find these people's names. But this woman that looks like the Wonder Wise started acting in Tyler Perry's movies. Like she does this movie called
Yes.
The Queen. But you know what I'm talking about, right? The model lady.
I don't know if I saw the Queen.
I'll get her name in a second. But I
Okay.
think I'll get it in a second. But anyway, so keep talking about the characters. Do you have a preference between the series? I know you said you kind of discovered things in reverse than I did. Do you have a preference since you've seen both?
Um, I don't think I have a preference. I kind of like this series because it keeps me going. It's like it's more detailed rather than just the movie being just a block and then you're done. So the
Hmm.
series just kind of gave me something to keep watching. Um, and I'm sure they elaborated more on her lifestyle and everything. So we have quite a few comments. Before we continue, maybe we should like hit them up real quick.
Sure.
um LA body massage, yes, she's got to have it is one of my favorites because it's about a woman and she's black. I really love the show. Thank you, Ellie, for your comment. Yes, that is a good word or a good word. Magnetic. I can't speak to that. My tongue is like all twisted. I don't know what I did with it.
Hey,
Uh-huh.
can I elaborate on magnetic?
Mm-hmm.
So if you've ever been around someone that's magnetic, it's not, it could be a woman and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting, right? Because these people are charismatic as
Mm-hmm.
well as good looking.
Right.
So, like I said, it seemed like everything goes their way, and it's like almost unfair. You're just sitting here as an audience. You
People
could
just
be the friend.
gravitate.
They gravitate towards them. Men, women, older, younger. They just and if you if you know them, you can kind of be like, oh, again, you know. But if you're new to the sphere, you kind of feel different ways about it. You just be like, "Am I gonna put up with this? Because this is gonna be constant."
Mm-hmm.
You could classify them as a pretty boy or pretty girl,
Right.
narcissist. I don't know. People kind of naturally put people into boxes. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so with that scene that you were talking about with Opal, I think her name is in the
Mhm.
movie. That was a real I felt that, you know what I'm saying? I felt that conversation because, um, I wasn't sure how s honest, Nola was with her friend
Right.
because I've been in these situations where, like, I think women, like, uh, they tell you the PG-13 answer, and then as they, trust you more, they'll tell you, yeah, well, actually,
Right.
I did think, or there was this time, but it doesn't count, you know. So I was in that conversation. I'm just like, hmm. And so looking at how she handled the conversation, um, now, because I've seen it a couple times and it's been a few years, it was interesting how she was able to rebuff the obvious attraction
Mhm.
and redirect her several times where Opal had to accept it, but she's like, I'm gonna get to you, you know, I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
get to
convert
you,
you.
I'm gonna convert you. And so when
Mm.
the boyfriend guy when Jamie comes over, he flies to her bedside because she happened to be sick, ironic.
Mhm. Right.
And she's like, yes, like, yo, don't you see? Like, I'm
I'm
peeing
here for my
over.
woman.
Yeah, I'm peeing all over this square. Don't you smell my territorial urine?
I'm
And
marking this territory.
I'm marking this territory. And then she's like, huh, little
Mm.
do you know. And then that's when they had the come to Jesus moment. So
Yeah.
that's a that's a that can't be easy for a lot of people. But
Right.
that's the magnetic person. Like, I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody in the audience have had that experience before. It could be a friend, could be a relative, but
Right.
you guys hopefully know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. So yeah.
Maggie said, I've seen She's Gotta Have It, the movie and the series. Also Sense8. Absolutely love them. Agree that Nola Darling is magnetic.
Thank
Sky
you. Thank
said,
you.
thank you, Maggie. Sky said, I wouldn't call it E&M or even polyamory. Well, basically, yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, like non-monogamy has always been represented in you know, on TV in the sense of cheating. Um, I would say, I don't know if I would say that the men were, oh, hold on. That's her next comment. She said the men were not in agreement. Excuse me. I think she lived openly. I don't think she hid what she was doing. She just wasn't asking for permission from anybody to do what she was doing. I don't know if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct. That was a opening
That she was doing
monologue.
her.
There was an opening monologue that kind of set the table. And if I guess if you've never seen the movie before, like you're just there, but like
Right.
it's kind of like there in plain sight, but again, you cannot accept it because I think we are not used to that kind of character. So I found the actress real quick. It's
Okay.
Eva Marcille. She was America's Next Top Model, I believe.
Mhm.
So Eva,
Yes, yes.
so
Oh, I
Eva
think
reminds me.
I said it here too. Eva
Okay,
Marcelo. Yeah.
yeah. So Eva reminds me of the Wonder Wives. But anyway, so we're not. I wasn't used to that kind of character. I think before She's Gotta Have It, the closest thing was, and this brought me back, in my memory. Have you ever read Sula by Toni Morrison?
No. Ooh.
So
You're
there's a
sending me to
character,
read now. What's the name?
Sula,
Okay.
Sula. So
Mhm.
Sula,
Toni Morrison.
yeah, you can read it for free PDF. You can just Google it. But Sula, the character Sula, was someone that reminds me of Nola Darling.
Mhm.
And again, it was so jarring back in high school. I read it in high school because I cannot believe her actions, but again, she was magnetic. There was something about her because she was so unorthodox. She lived in a different mind state, and it took a lot of courage for her to be herself during that time period where the book was placed. I'm not going to ruin it too much for you, but like a lot of that
Right.
information is available online.
Okay.
But there was this particular scene between Sula, her best friend, and the best friend husband. That was something that I'll never forget. Like the lines were
Mhm.
very unforgivable for me. But we're talking about, movies in particular. I came more prepared with she's gotta have it. And like I said, I came, to the show introducing myself to the show and the movie. And like I said, just it's a lot of emotions. But yeah, that character is definitely unforgettable. But it's like for me, I think what's more interesting is all on the female side. I think for the
Mhm.
male side, like me growing up as a male, I came into a world where it was accepted. We were accepted to be um multiple,
Mhm.
but it was the elephant in the room.
Mhm.
But you were championed for being able to get multiple. They just hope that you were not, as the kids call it now, messy, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and the thing is, it was tricky for me because I'm observing this as a young man, and I'm just like, okay, well, wow, like where do I fit into all this, you know? And it's so funny that sometimes women will talk bad about the men, yeah, they'll call us dogs,
Yeah.
right? And so, but a lot of the dogs were sought after at the same time,
Right.
which was
True.
strange, right? It was
Right.
strange to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I wasn't sure, like, what kind of messages am I working with, right? But the
Right.
females were kind of like the opposite. So the females were supposed to be quiet. They were supposed to be the one that are sought after. Those are the kind of characters I was so used to. So when the Nola Darlings come into the forefront, I mean, it's memorable. Like I really can't say I remember too many other characters like that as far as relationships are concerned. I've seen strong female characters before, and I think they vary in their level of attraction. It's not necessarily nothing romantic or sexual. It's just like their ability to capture your attention. But
Right.
like I said, Nola Darling was a whole different thing because she was able to give herself, but still maintain this kind of independence, which no, it's still very rattling because, like I said, everybody, including Opal, the woman, wanted
Mhm.
to take the metaphorical jar and put the firefly in there and just be like, "You're mine," you know.
Right.
So
Everybody wanted her. We have a few more comments. Um, LaDon said she was open about it. Yes, we do know that. They agreed by continuing to be with her, knowing about it. Yes. The guys. Okay, I want
mm.
to hear what you got to say.
So Jamie in particular, especially in the movie, was
Jamie was the
I
serious one.
yeah, Jamie was the serious
Mhm.
one. He was the prototypical male. He wanted to lock it up. He wasn't trying to hear it. I think he tried to set boundaries. I think he failed.
Mhm.
And then there was the narcissist guy. I mean, that guy I knew.
Greer,
Yeah.
the one
The
that's
the
like the young one.
the muscular one. Like
Yeah.
so I think they all had the same names in both the movie and the
Yeah,
and
in the
the in
show.
the series.
Mhm.
So as soon as I saw the what they call the narcissist one, I already knew that it was nothing to be serious about. I just
Right.
knew it. And then Mars Blackman, which was Spike Lee, he played that character.
Mhm.
I didn't think that was serious because I don't know, as a man, if I'm competing against these other people, it's kind of like
You're
I'm like,
like,
"Psst,"
"Eh."
you know,
I
you know.
see you, Reggie.
No,
Judgy McJudgy.
but at the same time, like I got to see from Nola's perspective, and I know she's a character,
Mhm.
her interest in what they brought to her and how they kind of, I guess what's the word, yin and yang with her, you
Yeah.
know, because she had so much range and depth that I guess the others couldn't provide all that. And that's
Mhm.
the thing that some of the people who can't wrap around those concepts have a hard time um, dealing with.
And I mean, that's truly one thing that we talk about, right? You don't have to be everything to anybody. And I think also she liked each character for who they were. And they didn't have to be who they were not. You know what I'm saying? So Jamie didn't have to be Greer. Greer was just like the funny guy, the I live day by day kind of guy. Like she had fun with him. Because Greer was more like the young, fun, energetic character from what I remember. She had a different energy with Greer than she had with Jamie. And, so it's just a lot of us can't wrap our heads around that this person doesn't have to be everything. And even I'm not saying you should get a partner for everything. You have friends who can be those people for you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one thing about non-monogamy that I truly appreciate. It's like, I don't have to be everything for you. You don't have to be everything for me.
Yes, that is very true. However, what we, man, we are impacted by our society and the messages much more than I think we care to, because that's not how we're programmed. We're
Right.
programmed to find, persevere through different things and to kind of, I think, influence, if not change,
Mm-hmm.
the people to what we desire, the things that, the breath and, so we have these expectations sometimes that are unannounced, and sometimes I think it's unbeknownst to us even,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be something as just repeating like what you've seen growing up in your household, good and bad,
Yeah.
and so again, going back to Nola, like she's so unorthodox in several ways, especially in the fact that she's articulating these thoughts, these ideas, these feelings to these people. And honestly, we're half listening because you're being pulled in by her charm, her beauty. Um, so for example, Mars, who's the least financially secure, shall we say,
Yeah.
he's trying to move into her house like ASAP.
Oh, that was Mars I was referring to, not Greer. Sorry.
Yeah,
Mars. Yes.
Gir's the pretty boy.
Yeah.
So those again, those are archetypes of characters. And so I can kind of understand the different levels of needs and attraction that's there, because in the movie and I think in the show, he straight up said, like, yo, like you live in this crib, what do you do? How are you able to do these things? And you must be paid. That's a calculation that some people make.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's go through some more of those. Sula was definitely doing her Against All Odds, a must read. All right, now it's three recommendations: Sky, you, and Maggie. So I'm definitely going for it. I'm actually gonna put it in my Audible. I'm hoping it's on Audible. If not,
It's
it's fine. I'll sit down and read
It's not
it.
it's not it's not a long read. Like I said, it's free. You can get it from PDF. I don't know if it's on Audible because I have
Okay.
Audible, but
Okay.
yeah.
like Mo Better Blues. I think it was referring to
I
the
have not
previous
seen Mo
one.
Better Blues. I think the actress from the original movie, I think she's in Mo Better Blues. I actually was looking at her filmography and I'm just like, man, I wish I could have seen her more. She was in New Jack City. I haven't seen New Jack City in such a long time. I gotta check her out again. But anyway, so to me, that's her definitive thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, so and now since 8, I gotta check it out. How can I see it? Do you know off the top of your head the show?
Uh-uh. Like
Do you know what streaming service
I
I can
don't
check out
know.
since?
I I only have Netflix and Prime.
Okay,
So it was from one of the two. Because I refuse to keep paying for a bunch of different things. So
I get it.
I don't I think it's actually on Netflix right now, if I'm not yeah, it's on Netflix. So
Okay.
Marie says, it's interesting that since being poly, I look for representations in all the shows that I watch. And sadly, most of them almost always portray romantic relationships as monogamous, heteronormative. Um, yes, you're right, Marie. It's frustrating, probably why I love the show Big Love when it aired. We're going to talk about Big Love. It was about polygamy, but the closest thing to polyamory.
Mhm.
Um, so yes, I was just talking about it. Like I ended up realizing that so many other things, like Sense8 that I watched a while back too, had polyamory because I remember thinking about it. But Big Love, I used to love watching Big Love. I think Big Love was on uh maybe Showtime or one of those paid channels. Like you got to have the big packages to watch. So at the time we used to have those packages, and I remember I loved watching Big Love. It's one of those shows too that I binge watched, even though it was about polygamy. But I love the representation of many loves on TV, without the cheating factor behind it. So I think that's what attracted me to Big Love. Not necessarily the polygamous side of it, because the women were not really allowed to be with other men or other people in general. Whether it was a man or a woman or whoever they were, excuse me, it was just the men having, I think it was 4 wives, Marge, all of them.
Give
Yeah.
me give me a synopsis of what Big Love is all about, because I don't think I've heard of it.
Big Love was this, what do you call it was a Mormon family.
I
Yeah.
figured.
Yeah, the guy had one, I think it was 4 wives. And basically they each had their house, and he was at a house at different time of the week. The- but they all did things together. They all had their own children, their own family. It was just regular life, and they showed the jealousy. They showed how the women came together as well, how everybody came together for the children. They were truly a big family. But like I said, it was polygamy, so the women didn't necessarily have the freedom that the men had in that relationship. But it's still a nice show to watch. I still love it. I probably would watch it again. I don't do very well rewatching stuff, but certain things I can definitely rewatch.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, I figured it was something like that. Something else in this whole genre that reminded me as I was preparing for the show is I remember I was listening to like a NPR um broadcast a long time ago, a short story, and it was about Philadelphia people in Philadelphia. They were like black Muslims mostly um living in that shadowy life where they have relations but they can't be formal. And I remember um how that I thought that sucked that they had to move like that, even though everybody was adult and consenting.
Mm-hmm.
So it got me thinking, like, this recent administration that just wanted, man, I don't know.
You're speaking some Krieglish right now. They don't know what
I,
montate means.
so this Trump administration, I don't have any high expectations of any progressive legislation passing.
Oh no.
But in my lifetime, the the LGBT people were able to get married, and so I was thinking that maybe more than one relationships would be officially recognized.
Right.
But I don't see that happening
I think we're a
anytime
long way
soon.
from that. We're a long way from that because this kind of administration doesn't allow a lot of stuff, and they want to stay in the restrictive societal norms. And it is what it is, and I'm sure at some point it'll change again. It's just, if you don't follow their way of living, then step aside and we don't recognize you as people. That's pretty much how it is,
Mm.
unfortunately. But hopefully that'll change soon.
Yeah.
Did Reggie watch the series on Netflix or just the movie? I think he
I
said
s-
just the movie.
for She's Gotta Have It.
Yeah.
So I watched the series tonight. Actually, I watched episode one because apparently there's only two seasons. I watched episode one, and I'm like quarter to halfway of episode two. Then I watched about a quarter of the movie in preparation for the show tonight.
Right.
And then Mito and I, we spoke about another movie which I haven't seen because I think it honestly kind of rattled me, the concept, and I love the trailer, which is Indecent
And this is a
Proposal.
proposal. We're gonna have to come
So
back to all those movies. Like, that's so much to talk
I forgot how old I was when I saw, but like again, it stayed with me because I believe it was a Sade track that played in the background.
about. No
Woody
ordinary
Harrelson,
love.
No Ordinary Love. I'm telling you, like the music, the timing, the tension,
Yeah.
everything. Like I'm the kind of person it's it goes inside my soul, if you
Yeah.
will,
Hmm.
because I understood the conflict, right?
Right.
So do I remember who taught me the word compersion. It was
Yeah.
Ron Young. You know Ron Young?
Uh,
You probably you were in Black and Poly in the
yeah.
Facebook. So
Uh-huh.
Ron Young, I actually interviewed him. I was fortunate. So he started Black and Poly. Anyway, so compersion is the term, but this was a new term for me, new vocabulary. So we
Mhm.
don't have these tools as when I was that young person watching this preview, and I was like, wow, like what would I do? Because they were a young desperate couple. I don't know what was the financial situation that they were in,
Financial. Yep.
right? And then Robert Redford steps up to him. I think they were like on a cruise or like a
No, they were
casino,
at a
something like that.
casino. Yeah.
And Robert Redford looks like the well put together, I got
He's
money
a
to
rich
burn.
man. I'm gonna gamble $1 million right now. That's the kind of rich man he was.
So, Demi Moore is still beautiful, but like back then
She's
she was
gorgeous.
just man. And so how it makes you feel as, the cave protective man is like, how can you even consider this? And the
Right.
tension that goes from there. So as opposed to if we were to cultivate a compersion type thing, I don't know, but I guess that would have
Well,
made the movie less interesting.
here's the thing though. That really wasn't even like the acceptance of it, right? That so the first thing was, "Oh, I'm not for sale." That's what Demi Moore said to the men who offered to buy her whatever for the night. And so then when he offered $1 million for a night, and of course, the correct answer in a monogamous world is like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. Oh, hell no, you're not doing that. So then you could tell from the get go, he agreed. He was like, well, that's a lot of money, baby. I mean, just for one night, right? So then he put it on her. He's like, oh, it's whatever she decides. Right. Then she's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not for sale. Then he's like, well, she's not for sale. Right. So then they go to bed and they both can't sleep thinking about this $1 million that's going to save their house. They need $50,000 to save their house. But this man is offering $1 million. So then she's like, oh, that's crazy that he would even offer that. You already can tell she's considering it. And he's like, yeah, well, but we're not, I can't even believe we're talking about this. And I'm like, oh, he's totally in, but he doesn't want to be disrespectful to her by saying, well, maybe you should do it because we need the money. So anyway, eventually they ended up deciding, and then he ended up regretting it and running after the helicopter, baby. But it's too late. She's gonna give that cookie tonight. I'm sorry.
That's an expensive cookie. An expensive
Who
cookie.
wants to? I'm gonna take 500,000. Who? Somebody give me 500,000. I'm gonna give you the cookie right now.
You
Like,
know, all jokes aside, I've heard from the men's perspective, like we, the human male creature, you know, women has started wars, brought down empires, made deals happen under the table because of that magical thing that we love so much. And that means somebody's paid cold hard cash for the cookie, as you said. And now it got me thinking, like, what's the known world record? Where somebody say, yeah, I'd pay that.
yeah, I don't know. Nobody
That's
has ever offered me anything, so I can't say anything.
that's a really interesting question to me. And you know, like there's people out there who it's not even a big deal. And you know, like for me, I remember I growing up, I used to say to myself, like it's such a um what's the word? It's such a shameful thing to admit that you pay for women
Right.
indirectly or directly. But like as I got older and kind of like I got life experience, I see, well, they say that we paid indirectly, but it's kind of like it became a lot more, again, less taboo, you know. And so um I kind of understood, and as we're talking, it reminded me of when I was fortunate to go to Europe, and then I was on a tour, and they said that there's these super wealthy yachts that was out in the Bay of Monaco. And the yacht that the tour guide was pointing to, she said that that's the ex-wife of the Sultan of Brunei, ex-wife yacht, and it cost like $27,000 per night to be
Okay.
on that boat. The numbers boggle the mind, but it's because we are not in a class of people
Right.
that you know, we're thinking
Can
like
afford that.
who would do that? And so if you're paying $27,000 per night to be on a boat like that, I mean, like that, the Robert Redfords of the world, I think they must exist. And you know what? Those of us who don't think that we would accept such a, even a proposition, I think it might be because we're not either desperate or you know, we don't meet Robert Redfords, you know.
I want that proposition, but they were desperate, and that's why they accepted it. I mean, they really both agreed to it because they knew they were in deep shit. So, oh. um, so yeah. So Sky said, but he was married. Jamie, he was cheating. That's another one. But the gentleman never really had the men meet until much later. Um,
I guess she's talking about Robert Redford. I'm not sure which show
I
or
don't
movie
know.
she's talking about.
Yeah. No, I think it was she's got to have it. But I mean, in polyamory, the people, the metas don't really have to meet. They really don't. I mean, if they meet if they want to. Um, I had I had a NOLA in my life before I had to abort. Oh, what made you abort? We want to hear that story. But yeah, we were talking about compersion. So I'm saying like he can't even feel compersion because he's not even in the space of acceptance at that point. It was more despair that made them say yes to that $1 million for one night. So
Yeah, it's a lot of things working in the background. And so I think in a lot of ways, you know, um, you have to kind of try to flesh out your feelings
right.
because I think the prototypical thing to do is to say no and defend your woman and the whole thing. But
Yeah.
it
Be
was it was
prideful.
it, you know. But I just remember how suave Robert Redford looked. I'm
Yeah.
like he looked. Because somebody can come something and say like, "Come on, I'll give you 500,000." You're like, "Shit, right?" Like where's your
Right.
five
But
hundred
he was
thousand
also
dollars?
like, "Oh, everything's for sale." I was like, "Sir, yes, you're right. Everything's for sale. You just gotta have the right price and come to the right person. Everything's for sale."
Man, that's wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Um,
Sky made a correction. She said she really didn't have the men meet till much later. Correct. But again, I don't think they needed to meet. They needed to know about each other, but they didn't need to meet. Mo Better Blues is a movie I mentioned as a reference to the male representation to the elephant in the room in non-monogamous. Yeah.
so I wanna touch on Ladon's comment about having a NOLA, right? So NOLAs are interesting people because they're magnetic. And there was a line in the movie that Mars said, like, she's like, "Oh, she was a freak, and everybody wants a freak, but we don't want to marry them."
Right.
That's the Madonna horror thing,
Right.
and I don't know if women have an equivalent thing, you know, but like a lot of men talk about this thing, and to me, it's all about controlling thing, and that's what Nola spoke about early on in the opening thing. She's like she hates the word freak,
Mm-hmm.
and she's trying to do like a public service announcement for whoever wants to hear it and benefit from it. And it wasn't until I watched it again, I don't remember those lines, that it was actually some text from Zora Neale Hurston, Their Eyes Were Watching God, that kind of again hit differently, as they say, because those words hung heavy about supposedly the how men and women think differently about their wants and their desires and how they approach to getting them. So
Mm-hmm.
I just love the psychology of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. So
All right, we have more. They're hitting us up tonight. Oh my God, we better get to it. Okay. I think we are here. Let's see. Anthony says, so y'all listing shows with polyamory in it? Well, we want to find all the shows, not all the shows, but lots of things that have that representation so we can refer people to watch some of the, I guess, somewhat healthy ones. Because on TV, on reality TV, also is all about craziness. That's not truly a good representation of non-monogamy and polyamory. Compersion is the only polyamory show online. It's on YouTube. Oh, okay. I will have to watch that. Yes, everyone can add to your life in their own way, and you can vibe differently with everyone. No last such a free spirit, and that can be very attractive. Thank you, LA Body Massage. I totally agree with that. Guy said indecent proposal is really more about getting out of debt. Yeah, but she was attracted to that money too. So she saw him and she's like, okay, well, you look good and you got the money. So maybe, yeah, that is a wild movie. Yes, super expensive cookie. But she was so gorgeous. Indecent proposal was a perfect example of not getting into non-monogamous situations like you're trying on a new outfit. It can destroy relationships if not fully vested. Thank you. Say it louder for the people in the back. Um, just recently, I was talking to somebody about the swingers. A lot of times, um, people always think, oh, I'm a swinger, so I can easily do polyamory. And not everybody's successful at it, at switching, because as a swinger, right, typically, again, I'm just speaking, typically, there's always exceptions to everything. Typically, it's just physical, right? Your partner, the partners are allowed to exchange stuff. And a lot of swingers, they don't even play separately. They're a package deal. So it's either you with both of us or you're not. That's it. And then a lot of times those people, they try to switch into polyamory and they fail miserably because they can't handle the emotional part. Because it's one thing to be physical with somebody, but once you feel like, oh, this person is getting somebody else that they love, that they're like, they have feelings for, because I think it's one of our biggest fears as human beings is somebody else, well, our partner loving somebody else even slightly remotely close to how they love us. And we feel like, oh, all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm no good anymore because they love this other person. um and I mean, even when I was younger, I broke up a relationship because of that, because it was like, oh, when it was physical, it was fine, but the second that emotions got involved, I couldn't handle it. And yeah, so a lot of times people try to switch from swinging to polyamory and they realize, yeah, this is so much more different than what I anticipated it to be. So yes, if you're not fully vested, because it takes a lot of work when you're dealing with emotions and stuff like that. So it's not just superficial anymore.
Yes, that's very true. And I was thinking about why it is that we do this, and I think the word vested is one way to describe it, but the other I was thinking is that like we invest into people. We invest into people, and a lot of times, um, where you invest your emotions is like becomes a very treasured, sacred thing, and so you don't want it to kind of like shared, and it's not just the physical, right? It's just
Mhm.
the vulnerability, right? The
Right.
willingness, the willingness. And that's what I think Jamie represents in the show and in the movie. Jamie, I think, was very sincere in his vulnerability when he got with her, and he was willing. He drove her mad. I mean, she drove him mad, where he was willing to do things that is within us as men, which is like the provide, right? He's like, wherever you want to go, I'll do it.
I got you.
I got you. Like, it's a lot of people might say it, and some even people might have it where, like, Robert Redford, that $1 million was, and I haven't seen the movie, he made it seem like it's nothing to him. That's
It was.
different
That.
from, it's different from the person saying that I'm willing to do all kinds of stuff for you.
Right.
And so if the person draws that out of you, and you're putting that out there, that's vested in, and that's what causes um people to kind of guard that vessel
Right.
so jealously, because um you're putting a lot into it. It's just, is it reciprocal? Are you willing to listen to how they really feel about the situation? And that's kind of like, I think during the show and the movie, when I guess people say don't catch feelings.
Right.
And it's kind of like, it got me thinking like, so are we able to just switch on and off our feelings? And it got me thinking about that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's I always say that to people, and I've talked to friends too about that. It's like you because a lot of times, and I've seen it many times, people go into situationships and be like, well, I want this, I want that, we're gonna sleep together, we're not gonna catch feelings, we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna do that, right? But proximity typically will lead into feelings, whatever those feelings may be, right? They bring you closer together. So then you start catching feelings. It's usually one person before the next one, or the maybe both of them catch feelings, but only one person is admitting to it. And now it's like all of a sudden, because they have feelings, they want things to be different, but it's like, well, that's not what we agreed on. We agreed that we would just be on the surface. This is what we're doing as grown folks, and we're gonna keep it moving. So typically somebody's hurt, but you can't control how like catching feelings or not. You can go into something thinking like, oh, I'm gonna fall madly in love with this person, and by the time you get to know the person, you're like, that's not really what I thought, right? You don't catch feelings for that person. Or you go into something and be like, I'm not, this is just what it is, I'm not gonna catch feelings, and then before you know it, you catch feelings. You can't prevent yourself from catching feelings, because it's like you said, it's not a switch that you can turn on and off. It's There are things that lead to that. Maybe you can remove yourself from certain situations, but then I feel like most of the time when you try to remove yourself from that situation, it's always in the back of your head, like, oh, what could have been if I stayed or whatever. So I don't know. I always I don't want to say laugh, but I try. The people who talk to me, I try to tell them you can control the fact that you're gonna catch feelings for somebody or not. Maybe you can try and remove yourself from a situation, but I don't even think that's really gonna stop you from catching feelings. It's just you may not get yourself in certain situations that you didn't intend to be.
Okay, so I think we're pretty much in agreement. What do you think is the relationship between uh catching feelings and a person's discipline level?
Uh I think that's what I was trying to explain, because if you have the discipline and you realize, oh, maybe I'm about to catch feelings, you can remove yourself from that situation. But isn't it still going to be in the back of your head? Like, hmm, I wonder, what if? If you can have the discipline to remove yourself from the situation, but I don't think it's going to stop you from catching feelings. So,
Mm,
yeah.
very, very, very interesting. So, wow, like we got a lot of participation, which I'm pleasantly surprised by. I want to thank everybody who stopped by. I sent some names.
Yes.
Oh, Jezebel.
Jezebel. I
Oh
don't know what
man.
I was referring to.
So
Uh,
when I hear that word, I think about the biblical character, which is another female character that I found really interesting. But the religious people have made her be a really bad person. And if you know the Bible, the other strong female character I like is Queen Vashti. For those who are biblical nerds,
I'm
uh,
not, but you're gonna tell me
so
about it.
So Queen Vashti, if you want to read about her, she was in the story of, I want to say, Esther. So the story is kind of like a real quick short. So they're having like this king is having a party. He's like Puff Daddy. Think of Puff Daddy, ancient Puff Daddy. He's like bring all the ballers and he's popping moe. He's making it rain. And then he has a beautiful woman named Vashti, who's his queen. And he was like, why don't you and the, I don't know if he said, you and your girls come over and show, like, basically, like, how bad you are, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, I'm not gonna come out there and then, show out for these people, right? And so I was like, wow, like she just stood up to the king because he's a powerful man, and the party lasted for days. And she was like, nah, like they're drunk. I'm not gonna put myself out there just for them. Like, I don't know, I never forgot that character, and she stood out to me. I just like that stuff for some reason. And Jezebel, the reason why she's hated is because she tried to convince her husband, which I believe was Solomon or this other Jewish king, um to join her religion, or she would not give up her religion. So in classic Israel kingdom, you're the female and you're supposed to just fall in line, give up your traditions, because
Hmm.
the ancient Jews, they don't want their people to marry outside their race and religion because they
Hmm.
feared that the Jezebels of the world would tempt them into following other religions. And so
Right.
that's what she represented. But Jezebel, like, you know, she kind of stood her ground, but she got pushed over this balcony. It's a horrible ending,
Ugh.
but
You like the
I don't know.
rebellious women, huh?
You know, they're interesting. They're really interesting sometimes. But
Sometimes.
they're sometimes. But no, but
Yes, Lord.
there are these characters that stand out to me, and but it's different once you meet the Nola Darlings of the world because like I
Yes.
said, I understand the attractionness, but again, once you get there, it's a whole different world.
I love the Nola Darlings. Oh, I'm going to mention the Nola Darling to me is Samantha in Sex and the City. As soon as I started watching Sex and the City, I found myself in Samantha. She
The
was,
older blonde,
yes, she was just doing her. And I don't, it's like, yes, Samantha, you go. She's the Nola Darling to me.
I loved Sex and the City as well, but I thought Samantha was a little bit over the top. I
Oh,
thought that she was, I think she was over to me. She was, from what I remember, because it's been a while. She was a little
mhm.
bit over the top and a little bit keeping up with the Joneses ish.
She can be, but I'm talking like in the sense of owning her sexuality and what she wanted, how she wanted to live her life. She didn't care if she was viewed as a slut, she was just doing her. She did what she felt like was right for her. And I I love that about her. So I like the autonomy, the freedom, all of it. So,
Yeah, I understand. Um
but it's drama TV.
yeah, I remember from all those women, I like Charlotte.
Ah, sweet Charlotte.
Um I thought that she was underrated hot, and she was just playing that role, but if she wanted to be just as like the other lady that you just mentioned, she could have been like that if she wanted
Samantha.
to. Yeah, so they all had their,
Yeah, that little
but
thing.
but Charlotte was in that ilk because that's why they were friends. I think, she just chose because she had like a stable home life, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she
Um,
was the very conservative, church like girl, like proper.
supposedly, but she was, I don't know, I just felt like she was vicariously living through the other women, but she just chose that, if that
Right,
makes sense.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
And there's nothing wrong with that. I have all those characters in my life. I have Charlotte, I have Samantha, I have um, you know, Miranda and
um,
Carrie, all of them. They're amazing women.
amazing women. Um, I know we were talking about movies, and I know it's been a while, a bit over an hour. But another thing that for me made an impression on me, we talk about like women, archetypes, I guess, that made an impression on me that I like whatever, coming to America, while it's not polyamory-ish, there's a little bit of that. And what I mean by that is, it made an impression on me because like when the prince was coming up,
Mm-hmm.
this was available to him, right? He was
Right.
being catered to. He had a woman custom made for him,
Right.
and he had the servants who, when he walked with his father, he was like, "Hey, listen, I thought you understand that you're so your oats type of thing," and that made a big impression on me because he kind of knew himself, even though he could have been polyamory, sort of. He was attracted to something that he didn't know what that something was until he met Lisa, right? So
Right.
that movie made such a big impression on me on so many levels because Lisa was the archetype for me. So was her sister.
Yeah.
So
The
the
sister
sister
was,
was fun.
yes.
The sister was kind of like a Mars Blackman.
Uh-huh.
And I like aspects of the sister. And then I think there were some other women, the three ladies, but I don't know. That just came to mind. But if Eddie Murphy hypothetically wanted to be like that, he could have.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that just came to mind.
We have a few more. Oh, Anthony was trolling. Yes, we do know. I strive to be Nola Darling, unapologetic. Blah, blah, blah. My tongue is twisted today.
Unapologetically.
Unapologetically. Yes, Maggie, we definitely do. Marie says Samantha represented freedom, autonomy, living life on her own terms, and unapologetic about it. I love her. I think a lot of us do. Reggie does not agree. He's making a face.
When I think about Sex in the City, the women, one of the things that comes to mind, it wasn't like their, I guess, freedom, sexual freedom, relationship freedom. I just thought about how wealthy these people were. Like they used to eat out all the time.
All
And
the time.
I used to be like people live like that.
Some
You,
people do.
it was um intimidating for me. You know, if I were to meet a Samantha type, it would be that.
Yeah.
I think that would if I'm not on that level, because Mr. Big, the
Yeah.
love pursuit of whatever he represented,
Very.
that wealth. He had money. They all had
He was
money.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. So like to me, that's what I think of. And so like and that's kind of like what gave the nerdy guy that went with the lawyer a
Yeah.
little bit of angst because
Steve.
he was of a lower class,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know. That's what I was thinking about. Like these ladies, like they all sitting in these nice places. You could tell that they got it like that. And I gotta say, for some of us, it's in the back of our mind. Like it's like, whoa! Not only with Nola Darling, she was independent, and the money thing is what I'm trying to touch on.
Hmm.
When you're less financially free,
Hmm.
you kind of make different decisions. It
Yeah.
influences you.
True.
You see,
I
I
agree.
just I don't know. Like I feel like that plays a part in the background. Um, because if Nola was less affluent, she probably would choose somebody more like Jamie.
Hmm.
Not Mars Blackman necessarily. Maybe the narcissist guy, but Jamie represented the prototypical provider character. And
Right.
I don't know. What do you think? If would that influence her behavior?
Probably because I mean, typically, I feel a lot of times when women don't have certain independence, autonomy, like financial, especially, they are restricted to whatever the men can offer them. Just recently, I had a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about non monogamy, and basically it shifted into polygamy. And he's like, well, the person agrees to the relationship terms. The man can tell her he doesn't want her to see other men. She just has to. I'm like, yes. The second that you tell somebody you cannot, you are taking their autonomy away. Now, they may lack something. Let's say that person is not financially free. So they're going to agree to your terms because they don't have a choice, or they like the life that you afford them, but they're not in it 100%. They're in it because of that's the transaction that fits them at the moment. So for you to think that this person really loves you or doing it because she loves you, you must be delusional to think that. She only likes what you giving her. The second that she can be free of you, she can be free financially, she's gonna be like, bye-bye, because I want to see. Now, there are people out there who just want the one man, and it's fine. We have all kinds of people out there. I'm just saying, for the woman that doesn't necessarily want that one man, but you're telling her, oh, I'm gonna have 5 women, but you cannot see other men, you cannot see other people because I control the financials. What are you gonna do? So maybe if Nola was very restricted, she would not have been able to live the life that she lives. Um, whether we like it or not, finances control a lot in life. Money is money. Money opens a lot of doors. It affords. I can't travel if I don't have money. I love traveling. When I don't have money, I sit my butt at home because I gotta work to pay my bills, not just spend money. People don't like to talk about money. A lot of times people get very uncomfortable. I had to learn to not be uncomfortable talking about money. Just in general, if you owe me, I'm gonna ask you, hey, can you pay me my money? I mean, I'm gonna be nice about it or whatever. But we don't like to talk about money. It's always a hush hush situation, and people control others because of lack of money or because they have more money than somebody else. So I think financial freedom is probably one of the most important things you have to have in life if you want to live the life that you want.
It goes along with everything, I think. The freedom uh to to speak about those things and realizing how important they are is what keeps us open to different ideas, and which sometimes obviously it could be uncomfortable. I'm not gonna, it is,
Yeah.
but yet and still, I think if you speak to a lot of people about it, they will at least understand somewhat. They can relate a lot
Right.
if they're going to be honest about those feelings, even though they might be conflicting. It's all about finding the vocabulary for them, and a lot of times finding role models. And that's what's so good about the movies, right? Even though it's fictional, it kind of is inspirational to kind of show you, I guess, representation and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're talking in that same vein with money, relationships, and everything, I wanna I can't help but remember the story of Khadijah and Muhammad. Again, nerding
Tell
out
us
a little
about
bit.
it.
So again, growing up, I would hear stories about couples and people and women, whatever. And this was a story that I thought was pretty inspirational. So Khadijah is Prophet Muhammad's first wife, the founder of Islam. And
Mhm.
what I liked about the backstory of that is she was a wealthy widow. I believe she was 40 and he was 26, according to the legend.
Mhm.
And so Muhammad was well traveled, um, apparently charismatic and charming, but she had money. She didn't need him. I think her husband passed away. So that was such a unusual thing. It's still unusual today, even though we're supposed to be progress for I think she sent to ask him for marriage, if I
Okay.
remember correctly. So I really like that dynamic. And so to me, it kind of makes you feel as the man that you're kind of more wanted for who you are than what you can typically provide. The
Right.
typical thing that people look for you, that we wonder if there's any ulterior motives. So, but then Muhammad went on to marry all kinds of other females, including Aisha, but we're not gonna get into that. But yeah, so stories, movies, interesting, polyamory. Um, and now I have a whole list. So I have to check out Sense 8, Big Love.
Yes.
I gotta finish the series. I gotta watch Indecent Proposal.
Ooh, I'm gonna finish it tonight, actually.
And
You know,
yeah,
another
there's
movie that I wanted to see, but now this is not in the concept of polyamory. I think I had mentioned it to you when we were chatting. It's always what's been represented, right, in society. So the reason why I said non-monogamy has always been represented in movies, because all the romantic movies are always about the cheating and the this and that. Like The Notebook is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's just has such a beautiful romantic story in it. And then one of my favorite movies of all time is Unfaithful by Richard Gere and Diane Lane. And in that movie, oh my God, it was like, this couple, this normal, beautiful couple, they had a son or something like that, young kid. And then, something happened by accident. She ran into this younger guy, very good looking model, but of course broke, right? And they ended up starting an affair, and she was excited about life. All of a sudden she was excited about it. She was feeling sexy again and wearing lingerie and this and that. So of course they conducted their affair until the husband found out, and he killed the lover and everything. It's like, why are we so comfortable showing cheating and accepting it, but we get so uncomfortable when we're dealing with consulting adults, consenting adults, in movies and the NOLAs and all of that stuff. So I don't know. I think I also like Unfaithful because of the hot sex scenes, especially the one under the stairs at his apartment or something, and in the bathroom at a restaurant and everything. So it had a lot of hot stuff in it, but the thing to me, that the thing that always caught my attention is like, why are we so okay representing this on TV, but we're not okay representing healthy, consenting adults, consenting to relationships that have multiple people in it? So,
I think the number one answer to answer that specific question is because of the conflict and the drama that humans love. The animal who likes to watch the car crash. And for me, with that movie, Unfaithful, what I remember from it was there was a scene and she was in the bathtub and she had like a
yes,
drawing and that
yes.
she saw and then she hid it. But it was jarring to me. That movie was jarring to me because I can't remember too many films where like the female is the one that's misbehaving. I think
Mhm.
again, coming from my perspective as a male grown up in this society, I've always felt that like even though we were told not to do it, it's kind of like more acceptable for the men to misbehave. And it got to the point where like even if a man, I feel, was trying to do right or has good intentions, it's kind of like females always suspect that, you're it's only a matter of time.
Mhm.
type of
All men
thing.
cheat. That's what
You
they
know,
say usually.
but the females are rarely to me shown in the light where they're the one getting themselves in that situation. So that was a very that's what made it very unusual. And I don't remember the other scenes that you're talking about. I just remember the bathtub scene. And when you were describing it, I was like, yeah, I kind of remember something like that. And but that's kind of understandable. Like I think if I remember correctly, I guess she needed like I don't want to say like a midlife. It was like as if she was going through like a midlife crisis. She needed like a
Yeah.
to be
Simulator.
to feel alive. You
Yes.
know, that's what that represented, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's
Oh, hold on. Uh, uh, Sky said, but in New York, that's what we do. It's cheap to eat out compared to Atlanta. I think it's in reference to Sex and the City. Do people really eat out like that? Anthony said, I was not trolling. I was really asking. Yes, Anthony, we're talking about all the stuff on TV that sort of represent or talk about polyamory or non-monogamy. Maggie said, for ages, women married for financial security and still do. So it does inform our choices, even the decision to be in E&M relationships. I totally correct. I totally agree with that. Yes, Marie agreed too. What
yeah.
do you think?
So as I read that comment about why women get into relationships when it comes to money, just the whole. I mean, I know marriage is stuff. Like if you know the history of marriage, it's just it's separate from feelings. It's separate from love. It's separate from the things that is been reshaped to be now, the idea of soulmates and to death do us parts. There's it's a known story about how the diamond industry, you know, convinced people to save what, like 3 months of their salary and stuff like that
To buy a ring.
to
Oh,
buy a ring.
such a scam.
I just think that all these things are so interesting to find out how people came up with these ideas and how even though they're antiquated, they still impact us today, right?
Right.
So as opposed to learning about you heard about the walking marriage, the walking marriages in China?
No.
Well, me too.
What is that? I live under a rock now to my
No,
defense.
it's okay. I'm just messing with you. So walking marriages, there's a community in China where it's not a patriarchy, it's a matriarchy where people are non-monogamous, and it's understandable. They don't necessarily care who the father is. People kind of walk together, babies come out, and they just raise the children like that. They call it walking marriages. I learned about that.
Heard. So I've never heard of the term, but I've heard
Mhm.
of societies. I can't remember where. I think I watched a little reel about that too, where basically the woman, she has many men, and then they don't ever test for DNA because they're all part of the clan or whatever, the family, the polycule. And if she gets pregnant, it's everybody's baby. You don't get a DNA test to see who it is. Everybody takes care of that baby. All the men treat that baby like it's theirs, even though it might be just one person. So I've heard of the concept, just never heard the term.
Yeah, walking marriages, that's in China, and then there's the polyandry um in I think the Nepalese highlands, anywhere like that. But anyway, so a lot of the dynamics of relationships honestly change because of money. You know,
Mhm.
uh, Women in their role and their ability to be free is about education, is about exposure to concepts. It's about the
Mhm.
ability to express ideas, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot that's going on in the background before we get to Enola Darling. So when I see Enola Darling, beside the fact that she's a beautiful woman, she's articulate, she's more or less clear about what she wants to do. I think the only hangups that she has is that she just wonders if her art's gonna sell, you
Right.
know. So I think that's the only thing that really eats at her grape, if you will. But besides that, she kind of has a strong sense of self, and that's not something that is, I guess I don't say normal, but it's not promoted enough. Um,
I think that makes her human, right? Because they tend to make characters perfect. And sometimes I think we need to really give them human characteristics because a lot of times people look up to those people, even though they're characters, they look up to them and then they try to measure up. And it's like, that's impossible because this is a made up person. I think, they don't usually tend to make characters with flaws.
well, if that's the flaw that they gave her, it's such a bleep. Because when I see her, when I see this actress from the series, she's just a beautiful woman. Her eyes
She's,
are just
yeah, yeah, she's gorgeous.
uh she's I maybe I need to see more of the show, but she
And
has
actually, I think she currently is in a show that she is non-monogamous in the show too. So I watched a little interview with her somebody had, and they asked her if she was non-monogamous. She's like, "No, I'm not." She just ends up playing those characters. I think she's in Three Women on Stars. Um,
it's called Three Women.
yeah, so apparently I haven't watched the show. I plan on watching it. But she is non-monogamous apparently in that show, and that whole interview was about her life basically. So you tend to play the non-monogamous people. Like, are you non-monogamous? She's like, no, me and my husband were not. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you get typecast. It can happen.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Reggie, this one's for you.
I will definitely check it out. I do like sci-fi. I like dystopian to be more specific, but I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I remember watching Sense8. I don't think I've watched the whole thing, but I remember watching it and I loved it. I loved it. Now, ask me what it's about now. I don't remember most of it because I find now that my memory is not as good because apparently I'm getting older. That's part of getting older.
it happens. It
Yeah,
happens. But
it's
but
okay.
but for me, a part of memory for me is the emotion, how that film made me feel like she's gotta have it, made an impact on me. Coming to America made an impact on me. So I don't necessarily remember every single
Right.
thing, but I just remember how it made me feel. And so when I started, like I
Mhm.
said, I watched it before coming onto the show. I was like, man, that's what great art is supposed to do, make
I
you
know.
feel different ways.
Sometimes.
And so I will check out Sense8 when I get a chance. Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of TV, but I think I'm gonna get back to it with the long list, and I found a few more that have polyamory in them. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be busy because right now I'm rewatching Dexter. I don't think I actually saw that one, but because it doesn't ring a bell at all as I'm watching it, but I love Dexter, so that's where I'm at. So I love crime shows too. So all right. Oh my God. It is 10:34. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, Reggie, for suggesting it. Thank you for coming on and having some fun with me. We hope Sky gets better. She's behind the screen interacting with us. She just is not feeling well enough to be in front of the camera.
Okay. Well,
So
get better, Sky.
Yes, we thank you, all of you who came on tonight, who listened, who participated. We will be back in 2 weeks. The next one that I want to do, I'm not going to say what it is, but I really hope that I can stick with it and the right people will come on. It's going to be a polycule thing. So that's just all I'm going to say about it. Thank you guys for watching. Please remember to follow us and share this with somebody you think could benefit from this conversation. And if you have any suggestions, if you have questions, remember to send us anything that you might want. I'm gonna put the um, email here for you, the polypimps at gmail.com. We are always open to suggestions. Follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channels. It's free to support us. So please don't hesitate to do that and share with your friends. Thanks, Reggie. Do you have a last word?
Thank you for inviting me. I had a good time. Thank you for those who participate. Your comments are so important to us as creators. And yeah, just uh, an email, a comment makes a long way. It makes us feel like, um, everything that we do is being received. It's not in vain, and we really appreciate it. And so, yeah, just do that. And we look forward to the next show.
And where can they find you, Haitian Free Thinkers?
Oh, Haitian Free Thinkers. If you Google Haitian Free Thinkers, everything that comes up, that's Haitian Free Thinkers. So, Instagram, the regular stuff. Facebook is where the group is. So if you are interested, Facebook is where the group is. But Instagram, YouTube, pretty much all the major social networks, Twitter, WhatsApp.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
That
Haitian
sounds
Free
good.
Thinkers. So, but I appreciate everybody. We appreciate you. Keep learning, and it's okay to think different.
Yeah.
Somebody's thought about it too. So,
Yes. And I'm going to do one last plug-in for our live music lovers. Me Too Charles and Essence Creole. We will be at Sulit in Alpharetta on March 1st. I will have the flyer ready by the next show, but we will be at Sulit in Alpharetta, Avalon area on March 1st. That's going to be a jazz night. It's going to be our official first show of the year. So come out and support if you love live music. We do mainly Haitian music, but we also play some American, some Latin. We just love music. We love having fun. So come support. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a good night.
good night.